I'm going to switch over to the new settlement group. These little kids did an amazing job, and I'm not showing favoritism, I promise.
Did you know that watching 30 minutes of Netflix produces the same amount of CO2 as driving a car for 4 miles? Did you know that humans are mostly responsible for climate change, the Earth heating, and sea levels rising?
Did you know the word carbon footprint means the amount of carbon dioxide and other carbon compounds emitted due to the consumption of fossil fuels? Now we move on to our second portion of the project, which is how to shrink our carbon footprint. The causes for carbon footprint is factories, cars, burning fossil fuels, and deforestation. The effects are factories produce CO2, which makes the layer of greenhouse gases thicker, which makes the earth warmer. The way fossil fuels are created is animals and plants die and they get fully buried under water and they decompose. And while they're decomposing, people unbury them and create them into fossil fuels. Second portion of the project, which is how climate change affects the global economy. In this graph, this is a data board, and the numbers on the side mean the percentage change, and the numbers on the bottom mean the years. The red line means the global economy, and the blue line represents the global temperature. Because global temperature is rising, global economy is decreasing. The 4 continents we decided to focus on is North America, South America, Asia, and Europe.
By 2050, climate change will shrink the U.S. economy by 1%, according to a report from the Economist Intelligence Unit. The same holds for North America's economy, according to the report. One way economists want to combat these causes through a carbon tax. For them, taxing the carbon today can act as an investment for future generations. South America. South America is the 4th largest continent. South America overall and a financially less developed area of the world, adaptation to human systems to climate change will be more difficult than in more developed areas, as North America and Europe, about 3/4 of the size of forming United States, contains about 20% of all plant and animal species in the world, key to both local and global passage of heat, liquids, and carbon dioxide. In Asia, climate change impact stands to slash up to 9% of the South Asia economy every year. In Europe, climate change in the United Kingdom is leading to a range of impacts in the natural environment and the humans, including increasing storms, floods, heat waves, and heat levels rising.
Our final project involving summer camp and summer rising with a mural on 10 tips on how to reduce your carbon footprint.
Tip number 1 to reduce your carbon footprint is don't harm nature habitats. Tip number 2 to reduce your carbon footprint: use less cars and use more bikes. Tip number 3: say no to travel. Tip number 4: travel less by plane. Tip number 5: avoid less trash. Tip number 6 is eat your veggies. Tip number 7: use less energy. Tip number 8 is eat less meat. Tip number 9: recycle more. Tip number 10: buy more of what you need and less of what you want.
How do we solve climate changes? One way to solve climate change is changing our main energy sources to clean and renewable energy. The next way we can solve climate change is solar, wind, geothermal, and biomass can also be a solution. The last way we can solve climate change is our transport methods must be aligned with the environmental requirement and reduce their carbon footprint. One thing we should do more is recycle. The aim is to cut down the amount of carbon dioxide released into the environment. If you recycle half of the waste produced at home, you can save up to 2,000 pounds of CO2 every year.
The end.
Awesome job. Awesome job. Give yourselves a hand. Indeed. Thank you for all of your tips, all your suggestions. All right. I did want to circle back. I know I asked you this in the beginning, but it wasn't on the recording. How was the experience of doing this project?
It was stressful, fun, stressful again, more fun.
It was very tempting. Very tempting. Yeah.
Everywhere.
Like how to find all the facts and all that. Very tempting.
Yeah, and the heat. Oh, the heat. I can't. The heat. Oh my gosh, yeah, with the heat.
But do you feel that you've learned from this experience?
Yeah, I love. I didn't even know what a carbon footprint was before this.
Yeah. Or carbon dioxide.
Right. Do you feel that this is information that you can take with you? And
and like spread it around people, like so they can know like how to decrease their carbon footprint and all that.
Yeah, now I know to do those things. Now I know what's Energy Star. Yeah, now I know what to do to save energy, reduce my carbon footprint, and yeah.
Indeed. When you go to Sears or Best Buy and you're shopping with your parents for like a new fridge or a microwave or something, and it says Energy Star, now you know what that means, right?
Yeah.
Indeed.
We know to get it.
So, what are some suggestions that you would have for any young people that are going to do this project next year? Yes.
I think some suggestions you should do is tell them to like turn off the faucet water when they're brushing their teeth, and unplug things, turn off things when you're not using them, and turn off lights.
Young lady next to you, I'm gonna save you for last, brother. All right.
Yeah. Is that buy more what you need and buy less what you want? Because a lot of kids want like Nintendo phones stuff.
You got it.
It's past that. Okay, it's past that.
And yes, my young friend, wrap it up. Yep.
I'd say for kids to turn off lights when they're not using it, recycle more, reduce, recycle. No, reduce, reuse, and recycle. And to save nature. Well, that's all from me. Thank you so much. So those were some of the kids from my organization. Different site, but still one family. Being that we are recorded, I would love to take back some of this input or feedback from you all to the kids and the team over at New Settlement. We greatly appreciate it. Yeah, sure.
Cool. I'll start. Off the top, I think amazing job. Especially if you guys listen to this, the kids that did this, excellent work. I think in particular, a great job of utilizing data. Hey, it's really important to have numbers to show, to drive that point across. And it helps you build, hey, I did my homework. I went and figured out the numbers. Here's a graph, easy for you to see. And it helps you, another way you guys built, that authority was explaining what a fossil fuel is, right? How do they get in the ground? I really thought that diving into the process, it was really, really awesome because it made me trust, hey, when they're going to give me tips, they're not giving me tips willy-nilly. They really did the research. And I think you guys came across as very well prepared and very knowledgeable on the topic. And then in terms of, areas to improve, honestly, the only thing that really came up for me was, it was even just a content question. It's sort of, okay, you gave me all these tips. One of the things I think might be worth exploring is, what's the goal of government? What's the role of government anyway? And in, helping, because I can stop eating meat, but it doesn't mean they're going to shut down coal plants. That's a government thing. So what can we do to pressure those big policy changes like the carbon tax that y'all mentioned in in your presentation, right? That's a really interesting policy. What can I do? You know, what are some tips that you would suggest? Is it writing letters? Is it tweeting? Is it, you know, going to a climate march? What, you know, who should I vote for, et cetera? So that's, you know, that's the whole encompassing feedback. But I think overall, you know, fantastic work, very well prepared, very well researched, and a pretty comprehensive list of tips. So excellent work.
Thank you,
I
Acacia.
echo on so many things that she said. And as an educator, they really did use the interdisciplinary, using all the subjects. And, you know, they had their social studies in there. As you said, they had their data, their graphs, their math. They had the language arts was in there. The science was definitely in there. And the art was in there, you know, and bringing arts into the classroom. It's really something that's going to drive, you know? And like I said, and it was definitely a team effort, you know? And I often tell my students and my teachers, we're a team. Together, everyone achieves more. You take your little bit, I take my little bit, and we pull it all together. And then they even, you know, with their tips and suggestions and, you know, just their presentation alone was very good. Kudos to them.
Thank you. Thank you.
And they had me hooked from the beginning when they were giving out those really cool facts right at the beginning. I definitely learned new things. Like watching Netflix for 30 minutes is as much CO2 production as driving a car for 4 miles. That's really cool, because that's something like everyone watches Netflix and you never really think about it because it's just your laptop. Like you're not really moving or doing anything, and it's not like you're like heating your house or doing anything crazy. So you don't think about the energy output of that, but everything has an impact. And these kids were really great with making it relatable. And yeah, going back to what the others said, I love their graphs and they were really passionate. Yeah, and I really liked hearing in the end when you were like talking to them about their experience, just hearing like their self-reflection of how they've learned and grown as a person from this experience definitely gives me hope for them as maybe future policymakers or future environmental activists.